Hey everyone, it's me, Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi out here in Northern California. Welcome to the lovely Earth Zentangle-inspired class. I just got done teaching this class for the San Rafael Public Library, and I thought I would share it with you as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the things that we're going to need for class today. I'm going to be working with a Micron PN Pen, an IdentoPen from Sakura. This is a thick nib pen, wonderful for doing pooling of ink, and so we'll be using it a lot as we are working in the center of our piece. If you don't have an IdentoPen, you can always use another thick nib pen like a Sharpie or a thick Micron. I will be working with two gel pens today. I'll be working with the white Jelly Roll 10, and I will also be working with the gold metallic pen from Jelly Roll. It's a Sakura pen. I will be also working with a graphite pencil and a blending stump. If you don't have a blending stump, grab a Q-tip out of the bathroom and you'll be just fine. You know me, I am a Prismacolor girl. Grab your Prismacolor pencils. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. If you don't have Prismacolor pencils, grab whatever color pencils you have and play along. You'll be just fine. Now for this class, I am working on a tile that's 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches. And if you're interested, this is called the Genesis tile, and it's in my shop at tangledyogi.com. You can always go there and look for all different kinds of materials that I use for my classes. These are great papers for working with color pencil. If you don't have one of those tiles, but you want to work in your favorite sketchbook, just draw a square that's 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches and play along. If you've got vellum paper or really nice cardstock, you'll have a better experience with a smoother paper. With that said, let's get started with the lovely Earth Zentangle-inspired class. So before we get started with class, hopefully you've had a chance to gather all of your materials. Let's go ahead and do a centering exercise. Go ahead and take a comfortable seated position, letting your hands rest in your lap. Allow your spine to grow tall but not hard. Let your shoulders melt away from your ears here. And if you're okay with it, allow your eyes to close for a moment. Letting your attention come to your breath as you take in a nice deep breath in through the nose and slowly exhaling through the mouth. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And one more time, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And staying with your breath for the next few moments here, I'm going to share a quote. It's actually a beautiful poem by Hannah Leanna Kus, I think is how she pronounces her last name. And this is the poem. She says, "What comes next won't be built by fear. It will be built by presence, by people who can pause before they react, by nervous systems that don't flood, don't freeze, and don't fracture, but hold and keep the heart open. The sea moves under ice, quiet, vast, alive. It rises, it falls, it reshapes continents. That is how the world is rebuilt, not by performance, but by presence. Not by spectacle, but by substance. Not by force, but by character. Like tides, like water, already carrying the promise of spring. We are shaping what comes next together." Taking a moment to let that resonate with you. Taking in another deep breath right here and let it go with a sigh. And then beginning to wiggle in your fingertips and wiggling in your toes. And gently now, blinking the eyes open if you've had them closed. And let's create together. Let's go ahead and pick up our graphite pencil here. I'm going to start by putting some dots in my corners, and I'm going to do it pretty deep into the corner. I want to have a really thin frame around this piece. So you're going to see me come around and start to build my frame here. And I'm just going to very slowly make my way around. Remember, we're making something that's handmade here, so if you've got a little wiggle and wobble in your line today, that's just fine. You can see I'm just turning my tile as I go. And going all the way around. Now, once I've had a chance to go all the way around and create my frame, I'm going to start to build my string. And your string is just the way that you divide the space here. So I'm going to come in a little bit more than a half an inch, and I'm just going to start to build my frame by building these little columns. So you can see that I'm just letting the line go down, and then I'll turn my tile and do it again. So coming in a little bit more than a half an inch, coming in and creating our frame. And just really having some fun with it. So now I have the beginnings of my string here. You go ahead and do yours, I'm going to do mine, and then when we come back, we're going to continue to build our frame. Now to continue building the string here, I'm going to go ahead and go into the center box that we have, and I'm going to build yet another frame inside of the box. So this is a pretty thin frame here. I'm going to turn the tile, letting it come down, turning the tile, and continuing to turn as we go. So you can see that that's building a nice soft frame in there. Now the final piece for this is that we're going to go into the center here, and I'm going to make a dot and where I think the midway points are on each of these lines of our frame here. And you can see that I'm just being careful as I go. And I'm just going to start to connect the dots here. And bring that down. And bring this one down. And then you guessed it, I'm going to put one more frame into the center. So really keeping that frame nice and thin here. And once again, building the frame out. You can see there's a little wiggle and wobble in my line today. And that's just fine. You won't even see it in the end. So this is going to be our string for our piece. So you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine. Now I am going to ink in part of the string here, and so I want you to follow along with me so that you don't get too lost inside of it, because we are going to be using some of our string and then erasing it later. So I'm going to work from the inside out here, and I'm just going to go ahead and start with my box first. So you can see that I'm just coming into that inside frame, turning the tile here, and just developing the box. And this is where you can make any changes to your lines if you weren't happy with them to start with. And then I'll go outward here. Remember to breathe, relax into what you're doing. And then I'll come back in and I'll start to work with my diamond in the center. And just lining up the points as best you can. You can see my diamond is a little bit wonky today. That's just fine. Getting right in there. And developing the shape. My pen's got a little skip in it today. So now we've got our diamond shape in here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out to my boxes that are in each part of the piece here, and I want you to watch me as I go. I'm going to start on the left hand side, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the corner here into the corner here and make a little diagonal line. That's all I'm doing here. I'm going to turn my tile clockwise, and I'm going to do it again. Turning the tile clockwise and doing it again. Turning the tile clockwise, do it again. And now you've got your corners all set up. I'm going to go ahead and go to the outside frame here. And just retrace my lines. Now you'll notice that I've left the pencil lines for the string on the outside, and that's going to be because we're going to be working with the tangle, and I want to leave those as guides for the tangle. Okay? So have some fun with this, and I'll see you in a minute. Let's start to bring in our first tangle. So I've just got a little scratch piece of paper here, and this is from one of my favorite tanglers, Angie Giddles, and she's got a new tangle called Earth. And Earth is such a great border tangle. I absolutely love it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start just by having these triangles that come into the piece here. And then once I've got my triangles all set up, what she does is she does this really nice, almost aura tangle in the center. It almost looks like printemps but angular. It goes inside of these really fun triangles. Coming over to the other side. Now, in Angie's version of it, she does these really nice lines that come down and give a little texture to that background. And we're going to do a variation on this theme here because this is the month of February, and I really wanted it to feel kind of like it had a little bit of a Valentine edge to it. So we're going to take these little triangles that are coming in, and we're going to do these little arches on the side, and then we're going to do a little bit of a V right in the center. And I'm going to pull my graphite in here, and you can see now that turns into a heart. So I'm going to go ahead on this side and do the same. And you can see that when I do these little lines, I'm trying to line them up as much as I can. So these arches that we're doing on the outside, I'm trying to make them as equidistant to the last one as I can. Just love the way that that looks, and it gives it such a cool feeling. And so this is our version of Earth. Okay, so let's go ahead and take it into our main piece here. Okay, so here we go. Let's bring it into our piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come into the center here, or what I think the center is, and I'm just going to start to build my triangles. You can see that I'm trying to make them as equidistant as I can, and then I'll go around to the next one and do the same. So I'm just building triangles. That's all I'm doing. Remembering to breathe and relax as you go. And so you can see that I've had a chance to go all the way around. I'm going to pick up my pen now, and I'm going to start to ink these in. Now, if you feel like you need to make some adjustments so that your triangles are more equidistant, go ahead and do that. But you can see basically what I'm up to is just building my triangles out so that when I go ahead and start to tangle, I'm going to have a really nice foundation in which to work with. So you can see what I'm up to. I'm just inking these in. When we come back, we're going to start to tangle inside of these triangles. So take your time, enjoy what you're doing, really get into the zen of it. You know where you're going with this. Have some fun. Isn't that what we're here for? So once we've got our triangles all set up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the 3 triangles that I have in the center here. And remember those really nice aura lines? All I'm going to do is come in and start that kind of printemps little aura that we've got going on here. Coming up, down, and in. And that's it. So all I'm doing is going up, over, in, up, over, and in. Super simple, really, really easy. Just take your time with it. Just like that. And I'm going to go all the way around in just my 3 triangles, not the corners. Leave the corners for later, okay? Okay, so now that I've got those really fun triangles all filled in, isn't that so cool? I just love this string. It's so great for creating really kind of a tribal feel, and I really love this tangle. So what we're going to do next is we're going to start to work with our hearts, and I'm just going to focus on the 2 hearts up top. So what this is going to look like is I'm just going to come in and I'm going to do my 2 little arches here. And then I'm going to do these over here. Remember, I'm trying to make my arches equidistant. And then I'll come in and do a little V and do a little V. Pooling my ink. Remember to go light with your pen. Looks really fun. Love the way those hearts look. So I'm just going to go again, just like that. Arch, 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 V, and V. Pool, pool, just getting right in there, having some fun with it. Just being super chill with it. Love the way these look. Super, super fun. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up my two. You go ahead and do yours. Now we're going to work on our corners, and we're going to have some kissing hearts in here. They're just going to really hold this corner in a nice way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to my corners and just do another arch right here and another arch right here. Pull it in and pull it in. I'm going to find center, make that little V, and bring it right in there. I'm going to go over to the side here, so I'm just turning the piece. I'm going to pull, or rather do my little arches first, and you can see that I'm focusing on that corner and making those so that they line up really well. Same thing over here, trying to get them to line up over on the side, then finding the center, creating that little V, and pulling it in. And so you can see that it really holds that corner in a really nice way. I'm going to go ahead and do it on the other side here. So I'm going to do my arch, another arch right over here, and then I'm going to go ahead and do my arch there. Coming in, and just pulling. Same thing over here. Nice arch, and a pull. Coming in, and bringing that in. So that you can see how it really holds the corners there in a really fun way. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing down here. You go ahead and do yours as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in our next tangle. So we're going to be doing something called Rose Dance by Yura Chen, and I love this tangle, and when I taught it yesterday to the San Rafael Public Library, it really was everybody's favorite tangle, which was really fun. So I want you to think of the tangle Flux and how we kind of do this upside down teardrop with Flux. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start the same way we would do Flux, and we're going to come around and we're going to create this almost like a printemps that just goes right in like so. Now once I've got that the way that I want it, I'm going to drop down on the side and rejoin, and then I'm going to drop down from the center and rejoin. You can see I've got this nice arch here. I'm going to bring that down as well. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come out to the side, creating a nice petal shape that's going to go back and out, step down a little bit, back and out, come over to the other side, and one more time. It's such a gorgeous tangle, and when we start doing shading with it, you're just going to love it. So let's bring it into our piece. Let's go ahead and bring it into the corner here. Let's start just the same way that we would with Flux. So I'm just going to come in, and you're going to see me go close to the top but not all the way, creating that nice little hook in there. I'm going to drop down. I'm going to drop down here and drop down right there. Once I've got that, I'm going to come in and start to build those petals. And then I'll do one more and let it drop off the side. I'm going to do another one over here and another one over here. Just bringing that in. Isn't that so pretty? Let's go ahead and do it again. Just turning the tile clockwise, starting just the way that you would with Flux, coming up, going over, and making that little curve in, dropping down, and one more time, creating those petals. One more. I forgot that inside one. Let's go grab that. And then right over here, and right over there. Isn't that a fun tangle? And you can already see that it's building out quite nicely. So you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine. Now you can see that I've got those really nice pooled pieces on the outside. We're going to pool some ink on the inside. I've got my Pen here. This is a nice thick nib pen. If you don't have one of these, you could use a thick Micron or your Sharpie, whatever works for you. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and start to bring in a little bit of that pooling of ink to make it really interesting. And you can see that as I go, I'm very careful to just give a little outline to the tangle so that I don't fully go in and maybe have a little opportunity. So you can see that I'm just building that up so that it really gives this a nice graphic feel. And look at how that corner really plays out versus these other ones. It's a little bit flatter. So I'm going to go all the way around and just pool my ink around those flowers. And then when we come back, we're going to start to work in the center. Let's start to bring a little bit of focus into the center of our piece here. I'm going to be building a heart into the piece, and I'm going to start just by finding where I feel like the center is going to be. And you can see that I'm working with a graphite pencil here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to build a heart that's going to come up and around. And I'm going to let it dive down, and I'm going to go over to the other side. Just building that heart. And you want to have your heart fairly large so that you can work inside of the heart. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a very gentle aura that's going to go along the inside of my heart here. You can see that I'm really taking my time. Bringing this up and over. And just creating this really nice heart in which to work in. So you go ahead and do yours. I'm going to work with mine, and then when we come back, we'll ink it in. So I'm going to go ahead and start to ink it in here. And you're going to see me really take my time with my lines here. I really want this heart to feel special. So really just giving it the attention it deserves. And then I'll go ahead and I'll start to add my aura into the center. Just like so. Now, once you've had an opportunity to bring your aura all the way around, I'm going to turn the piece upside down, and I'm going to add in some flux in the top of it. And so all I'm going to do is just bring in flux on either side, and you can add in some details into the piece here. Once I've got that the way that I want it, I'm going to pick back up my Pen and I'm going to pool my ink around the heart in here. So I'm just going to come in very gently. You can see how I'm doing just the outline. Pooling your ink into the area in here. Just like so. And then I'll come over into the corners and bring my ink into the corners. Now when I'm doing my pooling, I'm working in little circles, and that's what gives me a nice distribution of the ink in there. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up mine. You go ahead and finish up yours. And then when we come back, we're going to bring the earth into our heart. So when I was coming up with this class, I was watching the footage of the monks that have been walking for peace in the United States. They've just finished their walk for peace, and I just wanted to put some love into the world, and so that's why I put the map into the heart for this particular tangle. And some of you have done other maps with me before. We did a globe class a little while ago that had lace in it, and that was a really fun class too. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by making some land masses inside of my heart. Now remember, you don't have to have it be truly accurate. The idea is to make it just look like you've got some land masses here. And so I've got my pencil in my hand here, and I'm just going to very gently start to bring down a little bit of some lines, let them go up and around, and just start to work with the Americas here. And then I'll come down and work with South America and let it kind of drop down in towards the tip of the heart. Then I'll go and I'll start to create the African continent in here just by kind of letting it line up with this area in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and start to bring that in. Let it come back and around, letting it drop down. Making some curves into the coastline, up and over. And then I'll go ahead and start to bring in a landmass above, over to the side. And then I'll let it come up and out. So you can see that it looks like just a little bit of a land mass. It's not perfectly accurate. It's just the idea of the piece here. And then I'll come in with my pen and just give little wiggles and wobbles into the line because, no line around each continent is smooth. It definitely has its ins and outs and jetties and whatnot. Just kind of playing and having some fun with it. And when we do our shading, it will really have a nice feeling to it. So there is my earth right in the center. You go ahead and do yours. I'm going to finish up mine. And then when we come back, it's time for color. Okay, so let's start to bring some color into this here. I'm going to start with my greens. I've got a light green and a dark green in my hand here. So if you're not using Prismacolors, just grab a light green and a dark green and you'll be just fine. I'm working with lime peel green, which is PC 1005, and I'm also working with the grass green, which is PC 909. You can see that my pencil is pretty well sharpened up, and that's going to be very helpful for when we're working with these large swath areas. Now, if you're new to color, remember that each color pencil that you have is 3 different colors. You have your light, you have your medium, and you have your dark. It's all about the amount of pressure that you're putting on the pencil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by bringing in a little bit of that light green into our little map area here. And you can see the way that I'm holding the pencils with my thumb and my index finger and my ring finger to stabilize it. I'm going to go very, very lightly here and start to just rub the side of the pencil into the page. And you can see that I can make really quick business of this because I'm really just using the side of the pencil. I'm not using the point. I'm going to go ahead and turn the tile to make it work for my hands here, and I'm just working inside of the land masses. I'm not working inside of where the water is. So this is just a foundation of color, and just laying it down. You can see that I'm just jumping in and jumping out. Really easy, really quick. So once I've got that foundation of land mass in there, I'm going to go ahead and pick up my darker color here, and I'm going to create a shadow, and you can still see the way that I'm holding it. I'm pretty far back from the top, and I'm just going to start to create that shadow. You can see that I can make pretty quick business of that with that shadow coming up to the top. Leaving enough of the light to keep it interesting, but also enough on the sides too to give it just a little bit of pop. I'll come over here and give it a little bit as well. Now once I've got that the way that I want it, I'm going to go back to where the black line is, and I'm going to give this a little bit of heaviness. So I'm pressing a little bit heavier on the pencil. I'm working with the point. One of the reasons that it's good to have your pencil all sharpened up. Giving it a little bit of pop. And then I'll come over to the other side, and once again giving this a little bit of intensity. Over here, a little bit of intensity, just to make it interesting. Same thing over here. Just playing and having a good time with it. Now, once I've got that the way that I want it, I'm going to come in with a little bit of my original lime peel green here, and right where the line of demarcation is, I'm going to do little circles. And you can see that I'm coming back in and kind of tugging on the pigment that's closest to the black line and really moving it around. Because the pencil is a little bit lighter, it's got more wax in it, and so it can pull that pigment around, and really it's great to use as a blending tool. And it also brings a little bit more intensity with the coloring. I really love to blend those two together. It's just, look at the difference between here and there, right? So same thing in here. Just a little bit of intensity, little circles. Really pretty. Love the way that comes out. Now if you want to play just a little bit, you can grab your white Prismacolor pencil. This is the white pencil that comes in your color set. And if you want things to get really nice and smooth, you can come in and just give it a little bit of smoothness in that transition into the lighter color. You can see the difference here versus here. Watch what happens when I bring in just a little bit of the white. It takes that line of demarcation and softens it a little bit and gives it that buttery feel, which is something that I like seeing. I like seeing that soft transition when I'm doing that kind of work. So there is going to be our land mass for the heart. So take a moment and do yours, and then when we come back, we're going to add in a little bit of the water element. Now to bring in a little bit of the water element here, I've got a light blue and a dark blue. I'm working with the light aqua, and I also have the Cobalt Turquoise in my hand. But if you don't have these same colors, just grab a light blue and a dark blue and you'll be just fine. I'm going to go ahead and start to bring in the side of the pencil onto the paper here, making quick business of what we've got in front of us here. Just letting it dive down and just dancing around these land masses here with the point and the side of the pencil. Just giving it a softness, turning the tile to make it work. And all the while, just kind of sending love to all the people on the planet as you're working around the earth. Sending peace to the places that need it the most. So I've got that really nice, soft blue here. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick up the darker color, and I'm going to start to bring a little bit of a shadow along the coastlines here. Letting it travel around, and you can see I'm leaving some spaces alone. Letting it come down towards the bottom and up to the top. And dancing into these areas. Let one come in here. And just like I did with the land masses, I'm going to come back in with that lighter color now. And I'm going to start to play with that line of demarcation, just doing little circles. And kind of blurring out that line of demarcation. And you can see that by bringing these two colors together, it really gives this beautiful richness to the piece. Let me go ahead and zoom in just a little bit so you can see better. Just by giving those two together. I love blending colors together. I just think that it's the best part about what we do when we're working with color. And just bringing a softness in there. I think I'm even going to pick up my darker blue again and just bring a little bit of a shadow along the side of the heart here. Just a little shadow. Give it some drama. All the while keeping a little bit of lightness in that centerpiece. Love the way that looks. So there is my heart. Might even bring a little shadow up towards the top here as well. So go ahead, have fun, bring that water into your heart, into your map of the world, and then when we come back, we're going to start to add a little bit more detail into the heart center. Let's bring some wallpaper into our water area here. You can still see that I'm working with the dark color pencil here, and I'm just going to bring some printemps in here. This is just the spiral that we're doing here. And I'm just going to add a couple of spirals, here and there, just to bring a little bit of texture into that water here. And I'll do some small ones too, just to keep it interesting. You want to make sure that your pencil is really well sharpened up here. That'll help when you're doing this tangle. It'll make it look a little bit more clean. So lovely and so soft. And then I'll come back in with a little bit of my darker green, and I love the idea of just adding in a little bit of these lines, these vertical lines that are going to come in. So you're just going to see me bring in some pretty vertical lines that will add in a little bit of interest. And we're going to be working with these vertical lines a little bit here in this particular class. They're going to show up again in our tangle that is in the border here. But you can see that I'm just bringing those in to give it more of a Zentangle-like quality. And you can see that that just makes it even more interesting design-wise. So go ahead, have some fun with that, and then when we come back, we're going to start to work our way outward. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to carry our color outward here. So we're taking the greens from the center and we're going to start to bring them out into our hearts up top. So I'm going to be working with the same two colors, and I'm just going to start very, very lightly here. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this. And I'm going to just start to bring in that lime peel green. This is the lighter green first. Just giving it a little bit of softness. Once I've got that softness in there, I'm going to come in with a little bit of my green, my darker green, and starting to bring that in, I would say about halfway through that lime peel green that I just put down. You'll notice that I left a little bit of light up here, and that's going to be for our blending that we're going to do here. So you can see I've got the light green and I've got the dark green. I'm going to come back in with that light green and just blur out that line of demarcation here, and I'll dive back a little bit into that darker green, and then I'll come back up and I'm going to lighten my touch as I move away. So you can see as I go away from it, I'm lightening up my touch. Once I've got that blended the way that I want it, I'm going to introduce one more color into the piece, and that is the blush pink, PC928. This is like a very, very pale pink. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come up here and give just a blush of that pink into that upper corner here. I love this color combination. It's not something that you would normally think about, and it just kind of has a very soft feeling to it. Once I've got that, I'm going to pick up my white pencil again, and right where those two are meeting, I'm just going to start to blur it out a little bit, and then I'm going to let it dive down a little bit and soften my heart. So you get this beautiful blush of that in the piece. So I'm going to go all the way around and do that, and all of my hearts all the way around. So we've got some work to do, but what I want you to think about when you're doing this, because there is so many of these to do it with, is the repetition is the zen, right? It's the place where you can just move into the color and let the rest of the world go, right? You're coming into your own space, your own relaxation. So let it be a meditation. It has such a luminous quality to it, doesn't it? I just love that. So let's talk about these hearts for a second. If you want to add a little bit of texture into them, I'm going to show you a way to do that. So I'm just going to zoom in on the heart here. And I've picked up my darker green, and you can see that it's really sharp. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mimic what we did in the center here inside of the heart, so that those two have a nice relationship with each other. So you can see that I'm adding in a little bit of that texture. Now you'll notice that I'm leaving the pink alone with that green, and I've picked up my pink, and you can see that it's pretty well sharpened up as well, and I'll give that a little bit of texture as well. Now the other thing that I can do in here is I'm going to pick up my Jelly Roll 10, and I'm going to add a little highlight into that heart here. So it's going to look a little something like this. I'm going to come into the darkest part, bring in a little bit of that jelly roll there, and then I'll add a couple of dots at the bottom, and look at how sweet and fun that is. It just gives that really nice texture. So if you wanted to even add a couple of dots over in the pink, you could go and give a couple of dots over into the pink as well. I'm going to go around and do mine. If you want to do that with yours, you can, or if you like them nice and soft and kind of demure, you can leave them soft and demure as well. I decided to be a little bit more playful on this one. I added the texture to every other heart and then left some alone, and I thought that that was kind of a nice mix-up as well. So kind of fun, a little bit playful, different way to handle that. So we are going to continue to carry our color. Let's go back to the blues here. I've got my light blue and my dark blue here, and we're going to start to come into where the triangle is. And let's go ahead and zoom in on that. I'm going to take that lighter blue first, and you're going to see me lay the side of the pencil down, and I'm going very, very lightly and just going into the triangle. Be mindful of your frame. You don't want to go into that if you can help it. Just getting in there. Having some fun with that. And then once you have that, you're going to come in with the darker blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with that darker blue, and I'm going to press a little bit harder in towards the center here. And then as I start to move out, I'm going to start to lighten up my touch. You can see that it's getting lighter as I move away. And I'll come back in with that lighter blue, do some blending in here. Really get that nice and saturated. I'll let that lighter blue dive down just a little bit. And then if you want to, one of the things you can do is you can pick up your white again, and if you want to blend out that lighter blue just to get it really pillowy and soft, you can do that as well. You could even go back in to where you added some of your texture. You can see that that's got a really nice feel to it. You can come back in and add a little white dot right in the center if you've got the space for it. And another fun thing that you can do is if you really like the tangle Zonked, which is one of my favorite tangles, I'm going to turn this on its side here just for a second. You can come in and right on the point, you can add a little bit of weight on the point, and look at how pretty that is when you add a little bit of weight to it. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way around and do that in my triangles. Once again, this is one of those things where you've got a lot of the same repetition going on. This is an opportunity to really get into the meditation, so don't let that slip away. Okay, super fun. Hope you're enjoying that. So we are going to start to work with the dancing rose. I love this tangle. It's so much fun to shade. So let's go ahead and zoom in on this. I'm going to be using 3 different colors for the dancing rose today. I'm going to be working with Dahlia purple, I'm going to be working with the blush pink, and I'm also going to be working with the yellowed orange. Now, Dahlia purple is PC 1009, and the blush pink is PC 928, and then the yellowed orange is PC 1007. Now remember, if you're not working with Prismacolors, just grab a purple, a pink, and a yellow, and you'll be just fine. Okay, we're going to start out with the pink first, and you'll see that my pink is really nice and sharpened up here, and I'm going to just go right into this the way that we've been doing all of the other pieces, where I lay down the side of the pencil and really just dive into that rose there. Now once I've got that the way that I want it, I'm going to come in and start to do some shading with the Dahlia purple. And so what I'm going to do is just very softly with the Dahlia purple, just do a little shade on the inside right in here. And then I'm going to go to the exterior here and start to give a little bit of shading to my petals here, and you're going to see me do the same thing on this side. I'll go ahead and do a little bit right in here and right over here. Gonna go right to the inside here and give a little shadow. And then I'm going to pick up that blush pink again, and I'm going to use it to break up that line of demarcation. Now you'll notice that I'm going to leave a little bit of lightness up at the top of those petals, and then I'm kind of diving into that Dahlia purple and really giving this some nice shading in here. I'll come over in here and up into here. Now some of you know that I really like to make my color pencils look like they're watercolors, and so I'm going to pick up a little bit of that yellow, and I'm just going to start to do some random, just little splashes of yellow. So when I used to live down in the Bay Area, I had a rose garden in our backyard. We had tons of roses, and one of my favorite roses is the Peace Rose, and it has kind of this blush of yellow at the edge of the petals. It's one of my favorites. I'll come in and just give this a little bit of interest right in there. Now, if you want to give a little bit more detailing into this piece, you can always come in with your graphite pencil and just give a couple of flicks, just like so, to give some interest, almost like you're variegating the petals, and then also just a couple of lines inside there just to give it some interest. So that's the way that I'm going to handle all of these, in the same way. So you go ahead and have fun with yours. I'm going to have some fun with mine. Now if you'd like to add a little bit of white into the roses, you can come in and just add little flicks of the white inside the center part of where the rose is as well. I like that idea too, just to play and give a little shimmer to these, which I think is really fun. Now I'm going to let the roses go, and we're going to start to just bring in a touch of green into where we have our flux above the earth. So I'm just going to give a little dusting of green into that, and I'm going to leave the top of them white just to give a little bit of a shimmer, and then I'll come in with a little bit of that darker green and just give a little bit of depth to those as well. So just having some fun with a little bit of that detailing. So we're going to be a little bit more playful in here and just give a little bit of gold into the piece. But I do want to say this, in my original piece that I did, I actually just used graphite around the earth. But today I'm feeling like I want to do a little bit of gold work in here. But if you like the idea of working with the graphite, you can add just a little bit of graphite around your earth. So I'm just going to start by coming in here and bringing in some gold here, and you want to make sure that your pen is good and ready to go. And you can see that I'm going very, very lightly with this pen. It's a brand new gold pen, so it's really got a lot of ink in it, and I'm really just taking my time. I just felt like a little bit of gold would give it that just extra special feel. You can see that I'm really being mindful here, making sure that we get it down thoroughly. It's very easy to miss a spot with the gold, and so I try to be as thorough as I can with gold, because a lot of the time the white in the background will poke through. So just working your way around and bringing that into it. Now the other place that I'm going to bring the gold into is the secondary square. So I'm not going to add gold into the square that's right behind this particular heart, I'm going to actually come back with graphite and work on that. And if I lift this up, you'll be able to see if I've missed a spot or two, and I'll go back in and really just try to get as much gold down as I can so that I don't have any background poking through. But the other place where I'm going to add gold is in the outside edges, right around where I have my flowers here. And you can see that I'll just start in and start to bring the gold into that secondary frame. So I'm going to go all the way around with that. You go ahead and do yours, and then when we come back, we'll start to do just a little bit of graphite work and then a little bit more pooling in the outside edge. Now, one of the things that can happen when you're working with gold is you can lose part of your lines around the outside edge. And so one of the things that I like to do is I'll come in and just clean up my lines a little bit. If I need to give them a little extra love, I'll go ahead and I'll give them a little extra love so that that frame is going to really pop next to the tangle that it's near. So you can see that that really gives it a really nice pop. All right, so with that said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a little bit of graphite on my interior box that I have here. And you can see that I'm really just going for the corners on this and just giving it a little dusting of graphite pencil here. And then I'll take a little bit of a blender stump. Now, if you don't have a blender stump, you can always use a Q-tip from the bathroom, and it will help you to blend out that graphite. But what this does is it just makes it look a little bit more polished or finished, like you didn't just walk away from it with the white on the inside. It looks like you took a little bit more care and gave it a little bit of that dusting, which I think is really fun. Now, if you want to add a little bit more detailing into where your heart is, I've actually picked up my Posca pen here. This is a really great pen because it's got a really nice fine point. This is the 0.7, and I love this because you can do some really nice detail work with it. And this is a paint pen, and I've heard from a lot of my students that they struggle with the gel pen. So this is actually acrylic paint, and I really do love these Posca pens for doing some nice highlighting work. So I'm just coming in and giving a little bit of a highlight here, and you can do this with your jelly roll if your jelly roll is really fresh and new. I just really like this Posca pen because I've been having a lot of luck with it lately, and so it's something to look into, and who doesn't need another pen? Come on. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of a highlight down here as well, just giving that kind of a softness there that is really kind of nice and gives a little bit of sheen around the earth. The other thing that you can do is you can come into the center and add some dots with your Posca pen if you want to. I do love dots. They are always wonderful for adding a little bit of interest into a piece. I'll come in over here and add just a couple on the side. And this pen is really a nice tool to have in your tool chest for sure. Now, the final component to this piece that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to ink in my frame here, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with it so that you get a pretty good idea of where I'm going next. So I'm just picking up my IdentiPen again. This is that same pen that I did on the inside, and I'm just going to go ahead and start to bring a little bit of ink into that frame. You can see that it really goes quite quickly with the thicker nibbed pen, and it also makes all of the tangles really pop. So I'm just going to do this area right in here so that you get the idea of where I'm going with this. Now I am going to pick back up my Jelly Roll 10 and get it started again. I prefer it for these kind of finer, delicate pieces in here, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use that border or that frame and just bring a little white along the edge in here so that it just gives the illusion of the frame here, which is quite nice. And the reason why I'm doing this is I'm going to bring in my original piece so that you can see it. This is what happens when you have that nice frame all the way around. You've got the darkness, but then you've got the white to help it pop. So that's kind of where I'm working with this. So hopefully you are ready to rock and roll with your white Jelly Roll and your black pen, and just give that frame a little extra pop. So here we are. And I'm just kind of looking over any places where I need to clean up my lines. You can see that I need a little cleanup right here. And so I'll just kind of look around and see if there's any places where my lines need a little love and attention. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my chop on this. And I'm just going to put it right inside of my little petal. I just think that that's a wonderful time to take a moment and offer gratitude for this time creating together and really thinking back over our intention of sending a little bit of love back into the world. If you enjoyed today's class, please give the class a thumbs up or leave a nice review in the comments section. And even better, hit the subscribe button, and that way you'll be notified every time I add a new class to my page. I'd love to see your creations over on our Tangled Yogi Art community page on Facebook. We have such a great community and people always share their creations, and everybody does it a little bit differently, which is really, really fun, and we all learn from each other. It's such a great community. All you have to do is answer the security questions and then you're into the group. It's just a way that we have it so that we don't have bots in the group, okay? Well, that's it for me. I'm Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing your creations soon. I hope you're doing well. Bye for now.